Mic check 1 2 3. Mic check 1 2 3. It's on. Mic check 1 2 3. Mic check 1 2 3. Okay. Okay.
Let me go on that side.
Who's sent to man there? Go there.
Eh?
Where you going here?
To the end there.
Okay. Because it's going down, you know.
This how we going, right? Me, Sean, Aloy, Mr. Nakin, DPL John to close.
I'm streaming live in party on the counter stage.
Okay, good.
But my obviously I don't have
You in here. Okay.
the party stage to come.
We don't want to share Eon's speed.
I know they called from the office, the office, and asked to live from the page. So
Then I want to be honest, I hear half of what you say just now. Alright. Where do you live? Afternoon. Good to go?
Everybody ready?
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for attending our media conference here today. We have seated at the table myself, Anita Haynes, the Public Relations Officer of the United National Congress, Sean Sobers, UNC candidate for San Fernando West, David Naked, UNC candidate for Tuna Puna, Mr. Aloy Hunt, UNC candidate for St. Joseph, Jolene John, UNC candidate for La Hokata Talparo, and the General Secretary of the party, Mr. Dave Tanko, and the UNC candidate for Ur Bucharest. We are here to discuss the recounts that have been ongoing. I want to make the point very, very clear. The recounts are a vital process of a vital part of our democratic process. What we have been seeing, the comments coming on board, is an attempt to shift the focus from what is very important. The UNC has listed, and we will go into some detail here today, the discrepancies that we have seen thus far in our electoral process. And as such, it shows it is ever more important to ensure that these recounts take place and that they are done so in a manner that everybody, every citizen of this country can have full confidence in our electoral process. We've also heard comments with respect to COVID-19 and what the recounts are doing in terms of the country's treatment of a public health crisis. I want to make it abundantly clear here. The recounts have no impact on the handling of the COVID-19 crisis, and anybody that is seeking to tell you otherwise is being blatantly mischievous at this point. The public health crisis, COVID-19 public health crisis, was an ongoing management issue. The government continues to have responsibility for it, and that is their responsibility. But we have a responsibility to the hundreds of thousands of persons who voted for new governance to ensure that this recount takes place, and it is done so that we can have full confidence in our democratic process. I will state again, as I've had to before, it is not merely counting of ballots, but it is looking at, okay. Sorry, well, hang on 1 second. You guys are going live? Huh? You guys going live?
Streaming?
You going live? Okay. Yes. All right. So what we've come to you, as I said, the candidates here will go through what they have experienced thus far. but it is the constitutional right of all citizens for free and fair elections. We are also speaking in the context that Keith Rowley and his administration refused international observers for this election. And to add to that, they are now refusing to produce the correspondence that he said he sent out requesting international observers. These things must not be left out. The noise that they are trying to create, that pressure that they are trying to put on the citizens of this country to abandon a free, fair process that is built into our democracy we must stand against it. We must stand for democracy, and I'll hand over to our candidates now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I wish to also reiterate the Representation of the People's Act under Section 101 allows for a recount to take place within a particular period of time. It must be triggered within a particular period of time. The United National Congress has abided by that, and the recount has been undergoing since on Tuesday we put in the necessary documentation. This is a democratic right that we are exercising, and the narrative that is being peddled that we are somehow obstructing processes is totally false. What we are doing, as the law provides us to do, is an exercise that is to ensure then that the integrity of the process is maintained. That is all that we are doing. And through that exercise, it is clear that certain irregularities are being found. For example, in San Fernando, I can tell you that on election day, we had some significant issues at the Gulfview Community Center, where lines were were building up, and persons took almost 3.5 hours to cast their ballots. And several correspondences would have been written to the returning officer and to the Election and Boundaries Commission to treat with those issues. Right? Any conversation as well too that is being had that because of these recounts that normal government processes are being halted in or curtailed in some way, form or fashion is totally false. We have had the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago coming out and indicating that that is not the case. We have had other legal luminaries coming out and indicating that that is not the case. The incompetence of an administration to handle certain issues were present and clear before August the 10th. It continued on the day of August the 10th, and it will continue thereafter. Let no one say that what we are doing is in some way, form or fashion irregular or illegal. The law provides for it. And we have always stood on the side of the law and on the side of law-abiding citizens within our country, and it is something that will benefit the entire country by illuminating all of these irregularities, because it will benefit the country in the long run. We need to have the process, maintain the integrity of the process is being maintained, and we will continue to do so. Nothing about the process is illegal, nothing about the process is obstructionist, nothing about the process is procrastinating in any form or fashion. The law provides for it. Let me sit seats here.
Put our mic back a little closer to me, so we can get a good one.
Thank you, Sean. I would like to add my voice to indicate that there are too many irregularities taking place at our current count in the constituency of St. Joseph. The place of this count is at the community center, Market Street. Let me highlight some of the key ones. Now, on Wednesday we had a press conference, and I indicated that in one polling division we had 171 irregular initials. This then prompted me to seek a sample initial so that we could compare each ballot in the check. That has been refused. This 171 irregular initials accounts for more than 50% of the ballots in that box. Secondly, most of the polling cards have been checked, and we are finding that more than 54% are white cards. The white cards are the ones you do not receive in the mail. The white cards are when you come to the station, you say, I do not have a polling card. They will pull the copy, or they will make out one for you. That is then recorded in the polling station diary. We have asked to verify those polling cards against the station diary, and we have flatly been refused by the returning officer. So therefore we cannot ascertain, right, the veracity of the polling cards as well as for the ballots. We found last night a ballot box that was improperly sealed. The ballot box is supposed to have seals to the front and the side to ensure that if anyone opens the ballot box, you will break those seals. This ballot box had a seal at the back only over the hinges. So if you were able to open the ballot box from in front, you will not hinder the seal, and you could do whatever you want and reclose that ballot box. We objected to it, that ballot box, and all the contents of it. Another ballot box yesterday evening had no proper seals on them. Each envelope coming out of the ballot box would have a white seal with the signatures of all the persons from the polling station, and this will be glued to it, right? None of the envelopes had any of those seals on it, and this came out of a sealed ballot box. So there are very strong irregularities taking place to indicate that things are not above board. The white polling cards, as indicated, accounts for more than 54% in only 5, and we have 48 more boxes to account for. We have asked to examine the polling ballot stubs, and that has been flatly denied because we cannot do any correlation as to the amount of ballots as to the stubs, because we have been coming up with a vote short here, a vote short there, someone getting more. In one particular ballot box, on the statement of poll, we had a figure that was decreased by 10. When they opened the envelope, they found 10 PNM votes in our pile, which it took out. But we had 76. And the question was, so where is our 10? Because we had 76. They did not seem to check or could verify whether or not the ballots, was in correlation with the stubs. They flatly deny us the opportunity at every stage to verify whether or not the figures are right in terms of ballots to stubs. The final main issue is that this statement of poll 108001, as you see it here, so I bring it close for you. Okay, 108001 was issued to our agent, and you will see all the official, and this is the authentic statement of poll, all the official signatures of all the persons who were at the polling station on that day. Last night, when we were checking this particular ballot box, these figures for the PNM were doctored, right? Indicating impropriety. It was doctored here, here, and here, and the doctored figure had no initials by these persons, indicating that whoever tampered with the document did so fraudulently. And we made a report last night to the police station. St. Joseph was closed for possible COVID, which had to be sanitized, so we had to go to Tanapuna, and we did this around 11:43 after it was closed. This is the report, and it shows me as the candidate making the report and my counting agent who was with me. Okay, so now this is in the hands of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to now investigate. And these are some of the major irregularities taking place at St. Joseph so far. I will now hand over to David.
Everybody good there?
Is everybody okay? Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome all of you to the wonderful constituency of Tenapuna. What we've seen in our recount as representatives of the United National Congress has been alarming. First of all, some of my colleagues stated that we've asked also in Tenapuna to have a specimen signatory present. None was provided. We were flatly told none would be provided. So we have nothing to compare to the signatures on the ballot, which for me is unbelievable in itself. Secondly, we asked to see diaries that we can have an account of people who came to vote possibly without ID cards, and we were told that, those diaries would not be available for us to be seen, and we queried on several occasions why this is so, and it was stated to us that it would be under the discretion of the returning officer. Of course, we objected vehemently, and nothing has. We've sent letters from our legal team to the EBC, and until now, we have received no reply to our queries. Now, those first two, alarming as they are, the most alarming thing has been that we've had 25 ballot boxes counted in our absence. 25. Let me repeat that for the citizenry of Trinidad and Tobago. There have been 25 ballot boxes counted in the absence of any representative of the UNC. On Tuesday, the first day of the recount, it was made abundantly clear to all present by the returning officer that a schedule would be set from 9 to 5, which we have adhered to on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Subsequently, on Wednesday, the returning officer, on the urging and prompting of the PNM Legal, said that we would go beyond 5 o'clock, which we did. We went until 6 so that we could finish one of the ballot boxes. We understood that they went until 11 o'clock, and they counted 4 boxes in our absence. That is on Wednesday. On Thursday, we stated to them that we were not present. We sent a letter to the EBC. On Thursday, we reiterated that the schedule was set 9 to 5. We were there promptly and went from 9 to 5. We even went further until 6 o'clock, until one of the ballot boxes were finished. We understand they went again from 6 to 11 without any UNC representative being there. And they counted 5 boxes on Thursday. I want you to listen well. Last night, the same thing happened. We went from 9 to 5. And they continued after the allotted time from 6 to 11. And miraculously, they counted 16 boxes. 16 boxes in our absence. So that means they've counted 25 ballot boxes without, what is supposed to be a democratic, transparent process, without us being present. Now, just the math alone, that is impossible to count 16 boxes. In a normal day, we have counted 8 boxes from 9 to 5. They've counted 16 boxes from 6 to 11 last night. Now, that is highly suspicious. I am not afraid to say and question the motives of the EBC. I do not care if they are offended, because what is important is that the process is seen through, is seen as democratic, transparent, and it serves the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And that has clearly not happened here. I leave it up to the public now, who has been led on by an uncaring government, by a prime minister intent on inciting the racial divide or widening the racial divide. Because when he has no option, he turns only to that and then blames it again on our political leader. He has incited that racial divide and incited the people, and he continues to do so. But the process is clear. Everything has been clear. We cannot let things be dictated by the EBC on their own terms after they have already suggested and agreed on a schedule. And all of that based on the promptings and urging of PNM Legal. No, the EBC has to maintain an impartial and impartial look at all times. The optics must be one that they cannot be compromised, that they're unbiased, and that is important for our democracy. So anybody can come and try to intimate that we are trying to be obstructionists. We do not accept. And we do not accept the bullying of a common input. He has no legal standing or no moral standing to talk to anybody about anything. We do not accept. For one, we'll stand up for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We'll continue the process, and we will do so with ardor, with rigor, with fervor, and in the interests of our country. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the media.
Wait.
Yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Julian John, and I'm the candidate, or was the candidate for the constituency of La Hoqueta Talparo. When a voter shows up at a polling station to exercise their franchise, they're expected to have in their possession an ID card, a Trinidad and Tobago ID card, and an EBC issued poll card. On the day of the 10th, well, prior to me making that statement, I want to say in La Hoqueta Talparo, what came out is that there were many irregularities also. Just want to quote this quickly. You had the lack of specimen initials of the EBC officials authorized to issue ballot papers at the various polling stations. A letter was sent by the election officer of the La Hoqueta Talparo constituency to the head of EBC, and we were denied that right to see what the specimen signature looked like. And why we did not ask for that arbitrarily, it is because the initials varied from ballot paper to ballot paper within the same polling division. You had unsigned ballot paper, no authorizing initials on the ballot paper. You had numerous stamp-related issues, and I was told in the recount, even the EBC felt that there was some issue to be raised there, where it appears that ballot stamp for the PNM all had consistently the same irregularity within that same PD, whereas for the UNC, the stamp was good. You could have made out that stamp, but with the PNM ballot, or those marked for the PNM, there was a great irregularity, and the person who sent this report to me surmised that one could have created the impression that these ballot papers were hastily stamped. Errors on the statement of polls. Total ballots and total poll cards did not match. High number of polling cards issued at polling station. Now, with the high number of polling cards issued at polling stations, which bring me to the first point that I was making, that you are expected to show up with your ID card and EBC issued poll card, which would have been sent to you in advance via the mail. What we were finding in the constituency of La Hoqueta Talparo, you would have had the PNM stronghold as you would have the UNC stronghold PDs. So in the case of La Hoqueta, for instance, you had this happening consistently. In the case of Wallerfield, I'm going to give you an example. In a polling station number 2085, which is 1 to 5 different polling stations there. Overall votes cast was 1,939. The polling cards issued at that polling station without that without any, well, whether it is they did not work with their polling cards or did not work with the TNT government issued ID, was 1,371 in Waterfield. That meant 70% of the people who voted in polling station 2085 had neither, well, you had to surmise, because you have to, you now have to decide what it could be without having the evidence, because you are not allowed to look at the polling station diary, which again we asked for. We sent a letter to the Election and Boundary, the head of the Election and Boundaries Commission, and we're told that is not in the Representation of the People's Act. But if you have in this polling station 70% of the people who would have voted without either ID card, they didn't have the polling card, and they had to be issued at the station, I call that a grave irregularity, and it needs an investigation. Now, when you look at this comparative to a polling station or polling stations which exist in maybe, let's say, an area which would vote perhaps where the UNC would be competitive, Caparo Mamaral, total in polling station 2660. Total poll cards used 455. Total white poll cards 72. That's 16%. So that's a big drop. You know, whereas in places where you think the PNM has an advantage, in 2665 won, again in Mamaral, Caparo Mamaral. Total white poll cards, that is those who voted without the ID and maybe poll cards, 48, percentage 15%. 2665 2, total poll cards used 285. Total of the white poll cards 28. Again, those without ID or would have bought their poll cards, it's 10%. I think this is it's really an irregularity. It doesn't make any sense, because in the areas where, as I said, the PNM are very competitive, you have this high incidence of the use of persons of the EBC issued poll cards, on the day in question. You don't know, and then you have no access to this station diary, so you don't know who voted. They are not telling you who voted. So what you are in fact doing is an exercise. What is happening now in the various recounts really is a count. It's not a verification of anything. You're no different to the count on Sesame Street, but the only person who's laughing is the PNM all the way to President House. You understand? You can't verify anything at all. So you're just saying, well, this is one ballot for UNC, one ballot for the PNM, but you just don't know who voted, based on the fact that a significant number, in the case of La Hocta Talparo, 70% in one case, would have voted probably without ID card and without a EBC issued poll card, issued in advance poll card. And I find that to be very troubling, and I think this calls for a wider and bigger investigation. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I just want to reiterate a few issues that were raised and try to tie it on to some of the other problems that we've been facing. As you all would know, on many occasions before the elections, United National Congress met with the Elections and Boundaries Commission. In fact, on those occasions, a team led by party chairman, and which would have included deputy political leaders and other representatives of the parties, including myself, met with the EBC with the express purpose of ensuring that the elections that were coming up, which were due, which actually took place on August 10th, were free, fair, and free from fear. Our objective then remains our objective now. That has not changed. As indicated by Mr. Sobers, we are acting within the law. We are acting within what is required of us. We are not breaching the regulations, we are not breaching the law. When we met with the EBC on all these multiplicity of occasions, they were very cordial to us. They were very supportive. I find it extremely strange then that now, when the things that we are asking for would aid the transparency of the electoral process, that the EBC itself is finding reasons why not to provide. As DPL John has indicated, What we asked for, access to the station diary, the specimen signatures, access to the poll cards and the stubs, those things will assist in ensuring that the process is transparently reviewed. There should be no reason for the EBC to object to anything that we are asking for once it will help the transparency and the integrity of the process to be validated. It is therefore strange that they are fighting this down. What is even more strange is the Prime Minister and other members of his team trying to ascribe some sort of blame to the UNC and the political leader, asserting that we are trying to delay a process. We are not. What we are doing now is trying to ensure that a proper process is in fact put in place. It is exactly what we did in 2015. It was exactly what we did in 2015 when the conduct of the EBC was called into question, and the EBC was found wanting at that time. Their desire at this point in time and their determination in not providing the items and the documents that we require to ensure the process is transparent is extremely unfortunate. It therefore leaves room for speculation, which is not something anybody wants in an electoral process. I repeat that the items that we are asking for, the access to documents that we are asking for, is not inappropriate. What is concerning to us on this side is that the EBC refuses to provide those very things which will ensure that the process is viewed to be transparent. I want to also remind you that the political leader had asked for international observers. In 2015, the then opposition leader, Dr. Keith Rowley, had also demanded the presence of international observers. We have been told that he wrote to the CARICOM and other agencies seeking international observers. We are told that. We've requested copies of the correspondence. We have not seen letters to him or letters from them to him. Sorry, we have not seen letters from him to them and letters from them to him. It is strange, don't you find? It is very strange that a political leader and Prime Minister would not be easily, anxiously willing to provide those documents for the avoidance of doubt. Isn't that odd?
Correct.
In the same way that the EBC is not willing to provide documents which will remove doubt. That is very, very unfortunate again. I would like to commend members of the public, however, who took up the challenge issued by the leader of the opposition, Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar, pre-August 10th, when she asked that since the political leader of the PNM was not inclined to have international observers, that citizens become national observers and report what you found. And in several instances, citizens have gone to Facebook and to other forms of social media to highlight their own experiences, which in many instances reflected some of the issues that we found here. The issues we found here have, in many cases, the potential to affect the numbers in this election. You are asked to judge for yourself. My colleague indicated that we are providing the information to you so that you can judge for yourself the veracity of what we are finding, which are substantial numbers of irregularities, which we are not being able to dismiss, which we are not being able to address properly, because the Elections and Boundaries Commission has taken it to their heart not to provide the wherewithal so to do. Thank you very much.
Any questions? Oh. Yes.
Helping the transparent process along. Is that something that is within the parameters the parties agreement to request in terms of the account going forward and verify that?
Yes, it is. And as Mr. Tanku noted, right, anything that would add to showing that the process was free and unencumbered should be provided. We cannot understand what the difficulty is. The polling station diaries, we aren't asking for confidential information. Nothing about our electoral process should be shrouded in secrecy or should remain confidential. That's all right. Those are that we cast those votes and we ought to be able to verify. So yeah, it is within all right. People may try to come and say different things, but